Hello everybody, welcome back to Points and Miles 101, a 10-part crash course series to help you better understand the basics of the points and miles game. At the beginning of this series, I mentioned we would be looking at the two primary areas of travel in flights and hotels. The last two videos we were focused on flying when we took a look at the various US airline loyalty programs as well as the global airline alliances. Be sure to check those out if you have not already. For this video, we're going to pivot to the other side and start looking at hotels. All in all, lodging usually ends up being the most expensive part about traveling, but luckily for us, there are a few hotel loyalty programs that we have at our disposal that can really help us subsidize this part of our travel budgets. Whether you are looking to make luxury properties like the Ritz-Carlton more accessible, or you're just looking to rack up as many free nights as possible, becoming familiar with these programs is the best way to start stretching your dollar. For the sake of simplicity here, we are going to stay focused on the four main global hotel groups, which are Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, and IHG. There are a few other comparatively smaller hotel groups that, for one reason or another, just fall a tier below these four. And of course, there are brands like the Four Seasons that just don't have a loyalty program. We can definitely look at those options at some point later down the line, but given the scope of this video and this series is focused on the basics, these primary four are the ones that you're going to want to familiarize yourself with first. First, we will take a look at Marriott, who has the largest global footprint with nearly 8,800 properties across 141 countries and territories. Marriott owns some pretty iconic luxury brands like the St. Regis and Ritz-Carlton, as well as some other well-known brands like the Westin, Sheraton, and Courtyard. They also own an exclusive partnership with the MGM Collection in Las Vegas. Next, we will take a look at Hyatt, who has the smallest footprint of the four with just over 1,300 properties across 78 countries. Their high-end brands include the Park Hyatt and Grand Hyatt, and you may also see some familiar names like the Secrets and Dreams resorts in their all-inclusive collection. Next, we have Hilton, whose footprint boasts over 7,500 properties in 118 countries and territories. Their high-end brands include the likes of Waldorf Astoria and Conrad, and some other well-known brands like DoubleTree and Embassy Suites are also under the Hilton umbrella. Finally, we have IHG, whose property count comes in at just over 6,000 properties in over 100 countries. Some well-known brands within the IHG portfolio include the Intercontinental, Crown Plaza, and Holiday Inn, and they also have a partnership with the Iberostar Resorts portfolio of hotels. Now, when it comes to hotel loyalty programs, we should have a similar mindset as we did back in episode 2 when we were talking about the airline loyalty programs. They more or less function the same. Every time you stay a night at a participating hotel, you earn points that you can redeem for free nights, and you will also earn qualifying nights that go towards your status with the program. And as is the case with the airlines, I would always suggest that you pick one of these programs to make your primary program and then use the other ones as need be. As we discussed before, pooling all of your points with one program generally allows you to redeem those much faster, and it also gives you a chance to obtain status and all of the benefits that come with it. All of these programs are free to sign up for, so I would always suggest signing up for all of them in case you ever have to deviate from your choice program for whatever reason. I will also reiterate the point that just like with the airlines, there is no universal best program on the hotel side of things either. That is completely dependent on your own personal travel habits and preferences. And while I don't believe there's as many factors that come into play when deciding which hotel program is best for you, there are a few questions that I would keep in mind as you start to figure out which one may suit you best. The most relevant question here is, where do you travel? Simply because you may be limited in your options right off the bat, depending on where you are. If you're mainly traveling to large global cities and areas of population, you will have options from all four of these programs at your fingertips. But if you tend to frequent some less popular areas, you may just be limited in what you can choose from. For example, there is a huge discrepancy between Marriott and Hyatt in the sheer amount of hotels that each has. So it may just be the case that you are in an area where the only thing you can choose from is a Marriott hotel. So if there are places around the world that you tend to travel to more than others, I would suggest getting a feel for what your hotel options are going to be in those particular places. Another question is, how often do you travel, and how many nights a year do you spend in hotels on an annual basis? This comes into play in the hotel realm when we start looking at obtaining status with one of these programs. Now, there is not enough time in this video to go over everything we need to go over in terms of hotel status. That deserves its own video by itself. But at a high level, status with each one of these programs can be obtained simply by staying with them a certain amount of nights in a calendar year. All of these programs share a 10-night threshold to meet their first level of status, but from there they diverge. IHG requires 20 nights for their next level, Marriott requires 25, Hyatt requires 30, and Hilton requires 40. Of course, all of these status levels across the board aren't exactly made equal. You may feel that the benefits that come with Marriott Gold status are better than those that come with Hyatt Explorer status, even though it takes 5 less nights to get Marriott Gold. This is where the personal preference comes into play. And that's not to say that you have to stick with just one either. Let's say you travel a lot for work and on average you spend about 55 nights in a hotel every year. You could stay all 55 of those nights with Marriott and obtain platinum status, or you could stay 25 nights with Marriott and 30 nights with Hyatt and have elevated status with both. Now I know this kind of goes against this whole pick one mindset I was talking about earlier, but if you travel frequently enough to be able to take advantage of more than one program, and that's what you want to do, then go for it. And as is the case with the airlines, those who hold status with the hotel programs do earn a points multiplier every time they stay. In the end, this decision is ultimately answered by the question, what are you looking to gain out of these programs? Are you mainly looking to book aspirational luxury trips that would otherwise normally be out of your budget? Well, Marriott gives you access to some of the most world-renowned hotels out there, like the Ritz-Carlton and St. Regis. Are you looking for top value on your points redemptions? Well, Hyatt still uses an award chart to price your redemptions, which of course we will talk about later in the series when we're looking specifically at redeeming your points. For example, you can book 3 nights at the Park Hyatt in St. Kitts for just 75,000 points, which is less than what it could cost you for one single night at some of Marriott's top luxury brands in the same region on the same date. Or are you just looking to have as many options as possible? Then splitting your nights between more than one program, like we talked about earlier, may be the way to go. In the example that we talked about before, you may not feel that the incremental benefits of having Marriott Platinum status is worth more than having status with both Marriott and Hyatt. Again, there are so many factors that come into play when you think about this, and there's so many details that we can't cover here that we would cover in a more in-depth video of each program separately. But for now, I hope that this video can at least serve as an introduction for you to learn more about what your options are and start to get you to think about what you may want out of a hotel loyalty program. Again, the point to take away here is that there is no universal best program. What I feel like works best for my travel preferences may not work best for yours. But that is precisely why it is so great that we have so many options to choose from and why it's important to become familiar with all of them. I do have links to all 4 of these programs in the description below if you want to start to look at those specifics yourself. Bringing the focus back to this series, in the next video we will talk about the all-encompassing transferable points. These are the type of points that you can accrue and subsequently decide which loyalty program you want to send those to, whether that be an airline or a hotel. It is one of my favorite topics to talk about, so be sure to stay tuned for that coming soon. Until then, thank you so much for watching as always, and we will catch you in the next.